कार्तिक ने मुझे बोला है कि शहजादा will be a bigger hit than भूल भुलैया 2। क्या कहना चाहेंगे आप?
Not going to say anything, Faridoon. This business कुछ बोलने का नहीं है, करने का है. So fingers crossed. Hope that's true, but it's shaping up well so far.
How do you look at this entire paradigm shift that is taking place? So Bhool Bhulaiya 2 has worked, but a lot of films they have not in the recent times, and there's a bit of Bollywood is in a bit of a panic mode right now.
Previously, we didn't have competition from OTT. Right now, we do. So, like example being Darlings has just come on OTT, right? It's a big star, big film. So today I have the option of watching Darlings at home or Lal Singh Chaddha in cinemas. So the film that's releasing theatrically needs to have enough excitement to suck people in. Otherwise, most people will stay at home at the comfort of their large screen TV, 65-inch TV, 75-inch TV, great sound, their own sofas, and their own food and their own comfort, and they'd rather stay at home unless the experience in cinema is worth it.
Pawan and Aman, welcome.
Thank you, Faridoon. Who's who?
I have no idea. Both of you are wearing black as well, so that is even more deadly. इनफैक्ट मैं पहला सवाल आपसे पूछना चाहूंगा। पहला सवाल मेरा ये होगा आपसे कि कार्तिक आर्यन का मैंने इंटरव्यू भी कुछ दिनों पहले किया है और कार्तिक ने मुझे बोला है कि शहजादा will be a bigger hit than भूल भुलैया 2। क्या कहना चाहेंगे आप?
Not going to say anything, Faridoon. This business कुछ बोलने का नहीं है, करने का है. So fingers crossed. Hope that's true, but it's shaping up well so far.
All right. What about you?
The same. It's an entertaining film. It's a good film. Hope it does really well. That's all. In this business, you hope everything does well. So that's basically what you hope.
Do you think that the fact that you guys made sure that Ala Vaikunthapuramlu did not release like with the Hindi subtitles, that was a good move?
No, that's independent. I mean, in terms of it didn't release theatrically. It was a call we took, and we just felt it was the right call to take at that time. We've making our film and going ahead with it and seeing where it happens.
All right. How do you look at this entire this paradigm shift that is taking place? So Bhool Bhulaiya 2 has worked, but a lot of films they have not in the recent times, and there's a bit of Bollywood is in a bit of a panic mode right now. How do you look at this entire?
Yeah, it's a big shift post pandemic. What's happened is there's a shift in the type of people that are coming to cinemas and what people are watching at home. During the pandemic, it's sort of highlight over. So what's happened is more OTT platforms, more languages, and more shows and more films are available online every Friday. So you really have to compete with audience attention across multiple folds. So your product needs to be more cinematic or more entertaining or younger to really suck in the crowd for theatrical. So it's a shift of the people that are coming to cinema. Previously, we didn't have competition from OTT. Right now we do. So like example being Darlings has just come on OTT, right? It's a big star, big film. So today I have the option of watching Darlings at home or Lal Singh Chaddha in cinemas, right? I have both options available to me. So if I've not seen Darlings, do I want to trek to a cinema or do I want to stay home? So the film that's releasing theatrically needs to have enough excitement to suck people in. Otherwise, most people will stay at home at the comfort of their large screen TV, 65-inch TV, 75-inch TV, great sound, their own sofas, and their own food and their own comfort, and they'd rather stay at home unless the experience in cinema is worth it. So you're competing with a lot of different shifts. So I think the type of content that people are developing going forward will change, and that shift has already started to happen within the business.
So I just want to add, I think to that, Faridoon, like over time, when television first came in the 60s in Hollywood, to when VCR came in the 80s, to when DVDs came in the early 2000s, now we are in the OTT generation. So I think every 20 years, there's been a competitiveness created outside of the marketplace. Originally, it was always theatrical, and other mediums and other platforms are there for watching movies. So it's just that now we have OTT is very aggressively a competition to lure audiences in. So your content has to be able to compete with that. And if it's able to compete and excite people for cinemas, I think that's pretty much what is pulling people in right now.
I would like to share one insight. I've been talking to quite a few people of late within the industry. I have met Sameer Nair. I spoke to Arjuna Kapoor recently. I've spoken to other people from within the industry as well. There is this. I I travel in AC trains in Mumbai. I saw people watching Bhool Bhulaiya 2 um, second day after its release. I made a video of that as well. But then I thought that the industry, they themselves, they are not interested in piracy. They themselves are not doing anything. They're happy with the whatever is coming their way. And my thought was that somehow this entire business that is being lost to piracy is baffling. You can see darlings in an AC train in Mumbai. You can also see a pirated version of any recent film that is released in theaters.
Yeah, piracy has always been a big problem. When the VCR came, piracy really took off then. And I remember growing up, almost every Friday, the copy was available, like a Friday picture release, Saturday or Sunday copy was available, but you had to physically go get it from your video shop and bring it home and watch it. You're right, because of digital, the access is even quicker in terms of Friday subah kuch lagta hai, Friday afternoon available hai, and that goes to multiple devices very quickly. But you have to understand the guy who's watching it on piracy always has been watching on piracy, right? That audience was never coming to cinema. Case in point, like the biggest film in Hindi, I'm not talking about any other film, Dangal, if you take, has collected about 3.5 crore tickets have been sold theatrically, right? That is really the audience size of our biggest film. I'm not counting Bahubali, which might have sold 5 crore tickets plus in Hindi version. We're only really selling for the big blockbuster 3.5 crores tickets in cinemas. The rest of the public is consuming it on digital or on piracy or on satellite, whatever form, but they're not coming to the cinema. So we have to understand that audience existed in piracy. It's just got faster to them than what it used to get before. Hence, we have to make larger than life experience in cinemas, which take away from the small screen and say, "Ye picture to bade parde pe dekhni." So it's always a fight. Is this film worth the big screen or is this film worth the small screen? So when you're really getting into talkies and you're getting into dramatic films, they don't have a cinematic experience to them. But when you create a Spider-Man or you create a KGF or you create a RRR, the cinematic experience is big. Or like a Bhool Bhulaiya, you're feeling scared with a larger crowd. You're laughing with a larger crowd. So the community experience becomes heightened. Hence, you're enjoying that fact. But if I'm watching a talkie, I could watch it in the comfort of my own home and not miss anything because in cinema people quiet look dikh rahe. So you have to understand that cinematic experience has to be larger and more engaging to the audience at that live moment. And a talkie will always now find its way more to OTT platform. So piracy is reaching, but it's not affecting as we think it is.
See, I think cinema is like largely a social media right now, Faridoon. Just like going out of your house, going to restaurants, going to plays, going to parties. So I think films have to now encompass that and see which are the films that are either a social or cultural experience. Like Kashmir Files became a very cultural phenomenon. So either you're with a group of people, you watch large-scale films like Spider-Man, Gangubai, KGF, or you have a very community experience where you're all talking about that one film. So these are the things I think that are pulling films, not just in India, even globally, internationally. If you notice the content, drama in Hollywood, nothing is working after the pandemic because the acceleration of OTT into all homes, subscriptions has penetrated so fast, so quickly. So the drama audience saying, like Aman said, it's a home experience. I can watch it on my home, on my phone, on my computer, at the luxury of my house on my time. And the group experience is where you time your activity with a larger people, like say 10 friends going, you and your mom and your dad going, your kids going. So that's then becomes the group activity. So I think that's the shift in theatrical viewing that's happened. So we have to just understand what platform is now for what kind of content.
Okay, no, I'll come to that. I've been speaking to a lot of people. I'll give you some perspective that I've received recently. So I spoke to Yash. That was before KGF, the first one, and he told me an interesting thing that in Canada, for example, the fans, they know that the film will be running for 7-8 weeks. So they have to really watch a film, and if they want to watch it at a cheaper rate, they'll watch it in the 4th week or the 5th week. So this entire fan culture which is there down south is massive, and somehow I think the fan clubs contribute in terms of checking piracy. So the piracy element down south is far more under control than what it is over here, as far as the Hindi films are concerned. So I think somehow there needs to be something, some sort of I think resolve from within the industry, because as of now the industry is terribly divided, and they're just hoping that things will die down and things will become better. But I think there are too many things happening right now. So I spoke to Gippy Grewal recently. So I'll come to another perspective. And so he told me that the Punjabi cinema has done more business in the last 2 years collectively than what they did maybe in the last 10 years. Cinema halls are opening in Canada during winters as well, and people have gone and watched the films. Punjabi films, they're doing well as far as commercially is concerned. You guys have experienced that with Chara. You've experienced that with Hostel Arra. It released in October. Usually films don't release at that point of time, Punjabi films. But now, say this year, they're releasing in say all the months, right till February. So I think there is content that is being consumed by people, and that too in cinema halls. And there are practical examples of that as well. So how do you look at this Punjabi industry doing so well?
Speaking from Punjabi industry, I think again it's a cultural experience. Most people, or even the content that's getting made, you're getting humor in your language, you're getting topics and subjects about your culture. So Punjabi cinema is largely pulling in audiences who want Punjabi culture or Punjabi comedy or Punjabi language cinema. Piracy there is controlled in a sense. I'll give you examples because it's a very smaller market. It's you're catering to the North India and overseas market, whereas Hindi cinema caters to all India. So again, you mentioned like how you South industry, they have their own regional markets and much more contained in piracy. Example being, there's a film called Chand Mein Put 2. It released right on the day of, I think India was shutting down on 16th March. It released for 2 days. On Sunday, it was shut. That film re-released about 18 months later, last year, August end, and they maintained zero prints of piracy were out, nothing available digitally. And when the film released, it was blockbuster again. It originally did about like X number of value, which is big at those first 2 days in India. It did about a week overseas. Then when it came again, it was one of the top grossing Punjabi films of all time, Chal Mere Too. So it was a contained, because the region is so tight, piracy was able to control. Example being a Hindi film at that time, it's hard to control that because your wider release, there's wider avenues, number of prints are larger. So to maintain where things leak is more difficult. So larger your industry gets, just like Hollywood, it's impossible to control piracy. That's why they try to do a day and date everywhere. In Punjabi, we do day and date, but we can access the number of prints where the leak is from. We have smaller markets in overseas that we can control. So I think it's just a control mechanism. The larger your release, it's harder, it's difficult. And that's the Hindi film industry's nature.
So there is one more perspective, since it involves your star. I'd like to mention that. Now, Kartik, the way he has gone all out to promote Bhool Bhulaiya 2, I don't, it's unprecedented. His producer is saying कि हमने एक जगह बोला जाने के लिए वो पांच जगह जाने को तैयार है. And he went out of the way he promoted the film 4 or 5 weeks even after its release. He went to places like Bengal where there was a context of the film, and there is practical proof that the collections picked up by his visit over there. And there are examples, I wouldn't take names, of certain actors. Big films were coming up, and they had certain issues with regards to commercials, in terms of maybe they were not paid on time or some other considerations, and they did not promote films which were like really important for them, and the films suffered. So ये जो एक element है कि that the level of passion that maybe say Kartik Aaryan has displayed, and the fact that at times stars this perception that अगर हम film में हैं तो हमें promote करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है, and the film will work. There are examples in recent times, films have released, big films, and the stars have left for their shoots almost immediately, where they could have maybe waited for some time and maybe promoted a bit more. So how do you look at this these various elements that in tougher times maybe you need to work harder as far as promotion is concerned?
It's not one size fits all, but yes, Kartik does a lot of promotion, and that's who he is as an individual. Uh, he believes that's the way he wants to go about it. He actually does more than what the producer may require, and producers are happy with that. And I know that that's who he is as an individual. I know several other actors do it just like him. As a producer in a studio who's involved, TC is involved in this with us, you want your actors to promote a certain amount. Uh, some actors are averse to certain type of promotion. You have to live with that. And I know what you're saying that if we promote more, but necessarily doesn't mean it's going to add more value to the box office because there's a few films released, they're promoted like everywhere. The actors went everywhere, but nothing happened to them. So at the end of the day, promotion can only really give the awareness the picture RE, but they cannot get me to like a film. See, the key to a film success after Friday morning is likability to the film, right? No matter what promotion happens, big films like Thugs of Hindustan opened a 50 crore day one, but did not translate after day two, right? Like if you remember back in the day, Besharam opened at X amount, or Kalank opened at Y amount. They all were promoted heavily as films. But जब likability नहीं होती ना, that morning show के बाद, the film starts dropping, right? So promotion takes you to that start. Everybody wants that start. After that, promotion cannot save you. So we all have to understand where we're getting. So how much promotion is required. It's for each content, each actor will always be different.
Like Faridoon, you mentioned about South industry. Sometimes and same thing, Punjabi industry. Sometimes the trailer of a movie comes only 2 weeks before release, and the actors don't even do interviews, and the film's open to blockbuster. Sometimes we have actors who go all out and they don't open. So, like I'm saying, it's the noise creation level just elevates a noise creation, but the choice is literally made on the trailer. And if I want to spend 2 hours in the initial day, first day, Friday, because the initial audience Friday, Saturday is the one that's hyped about that social experience, then they translate the word of mouth telling everybody, yes, this is a social experience worth my time. So
like Pushpa 2, Faridoon, it was not promoted in Hindi. I mean, Allu Arjun came literally 2 days prior because he was busy promoting it in the Telugu version. And the Hindi film has done over 110 crores. Now, that is not because of promotion, because the audience took to the film. Right? So promotion gets you the open. If they were promoted, that 3.5 crore day one might have been 6.5 crore. Correct. And then the platform would have been from 6.5. But without the promotion, the 3.5 itself translated by Monday to that 6.5, what it should be, and took off from there. So promotion is the awareness tool, but not the likability tool. People have to really like the content for it to really work after Friday.
In fact, for Ala Vekantapuram, I still remember we went to Hyderabad. I think 1 week before the release, the promo was launched, and we interviewed Allu in Hyderabad. And the fact is that the movie went on to become a black blockbuster, but they have a very solid fan base. Be it Telugu, be it Tamil, be it Malayalam, be it Kannada, they have a very, very solid fan base. Somehow, for whatever reasons, the fan base element, as far as Bollywood is concerned right now, has depleted for whatever reasons. But the fact is, it has. And maybe the teams and the actors, apart from making good film, they need to work slightly more harder in the way what Kartik did in terms of promoting it to create that level of awareness. That's what I personally feel. But I'm sure that you guys have your.
I mean, this is the debate. I'm not going to defend the actors or fight their case because each is own, right? For example, it's not for me to decide which actor wants to promote or not. I will always want to promote our film the best we can, and that's how you go with it.
So noise creation is always good, but it's the trailer, I think.
No, 100%. I completely agree. It's the trailer that really decides for the film. And there are recent examples that certain films that have really there were a lot of expectations, but unka trailer hi bahut thanda tha, and somehow the results were quite.
Sometimes trailers are good for films, like for cases when dramas, a lot of good trailers of content. But then a decision is made to, I'm going to watch this at OTT, and the viewership of that content is extremely high on OTT. So the choice is theatrical and OTT. We're making those choices on good and bad. So it could be a good trailer, but I'm parking that for OTT. So that's also happening at this time.
Now, coming to Jersey, for example, I'm sure that it must have been a very heartbreaking experience for you guys. I saw that how hard Pawan was was promoting the film, I was seeing it constantly. There were multiple things. Like I think the promo worked somehow, but right when it was about to be released at a very good time, at I think close of the like New Year time, it would have been great. I think the film would have benefited. That could got pushed, and then KGF 2 happened, and it had to be pushed once again. And maybe people did not know that when is it that that Jersey is going to be releasing, and the KGF 2 wave was simply way too overpowering. And in hindsight, do you also think that maybe the film could have been slightly trimmer? It was a very good film.
So both your questions I'll get into. It was heartbreaking when we couldn't make the 31st December release because
Right.
that was the first wave of promotion. Your whole songs were out, your trailer was out, and the film was on the radar, and everybody wanted to watch it. When we couldn't make 31st December due to the third wave, when Delhi city shut down and subsequently the rest of the country's cinemas were in if they were in a shutdown or not, and we were not able to release clearly on 31st December, and we had to put a pause. That really changed the sentiment feeling, and we feel we lost a lot of traction at that moment. And it's really hard to rebuild the film again because the audience mind will picture aake chalegi, right? So most people that were aware of a film called Jersey releasing in December 31st, someone will say, "Acha, wo cinema mein aa gayi, but I didn't get a chance to watch it. I'll watch it on OTT." Some people are thinking like that. They didn't know the film has not released yet, right? Because it comes to the end mile, right? People are busy with their lives. They're not in tune with the industry the way you and we are. We track everything all the time. But if you ask your parents or you ask any neighbors or everything, they don't know what really a film is releasing till the Friday it comes. Or they're choosing to watch a film on a Friday or this Friday. आज क्या लगा है सिनेमा में क्या है ये देखना हाँ उसका ट्रेलर अच्छा चलते हैं. Majority of viewers are still not daily engrossed the way we think they are. So a lot of people felt the film had released. So we missed that boat. And then we suffered on the account of remarketing the film. It was people a lot of questions. ये तो देख चुके नया क्या film promo आ चुके हैं गाने आ चुके हैं. So we faced that, and then like you said, KGF became big, and we at that time had no release date option, right? We were like March में picture it started releasing again, and we had to pick what was available, and we had no options at that time. We said चलो इधर आते हैं कि इधर आते हैं. It was not like we were given a choice or a timing, and everyone said चलो Jersey को पहले आने दो. Right? That was not happened. So yeah, it's heartbreaking. So that's the release point of view, marketing. The length point of view, we made the film as the original film. So and with the same director making it, after a point, once you love something, you think that's what you want to take out. And yes, certain people, and like how you said, have said the length may have been an issue, but those are certain things that everyone that was making the film loved it, and I understand that, but you have to live with the director's vision because he got a national award for the same film, right? You can't really judge it beyond that point, and that's going to be a personal perspective of it.
Tell me something about your journey from Vancouver to Mumbai.
It's been interesting. We've been here almost. I've been working over 19 years in Mumbai in the film industry. I came in, started working in 2003 April with Samir Nair's company Applause. He's now the CEO. Back then, it was a different CEO, so I started in that company. I met the people starting the company that time, and I happened to be an avid film buff growing up entirely in Vancouver. So was Pawan, and we both did our undergraduates in University of British Columbia and stuff. I did economics. He was in biochem, and we were so passionate about the film industry that during our growing up years, we started tracking the business side as well. So we understood kaun si film chal rahi hai, how well Gaddar has done versus Lagan versus Dil Chahta Hai versus Yaadein versus all the films that were releasing. Dil Se broke into the top 10 in UK charts, tracking the business. We understanding what we like, what's working while we're growing up, watching films. And then once we graduated, I just like, okay, I'm going to India just to hang out for a bit. And I met the right people that were starting Applause Entertainment at that time. And they looked at me and they pretty much said, "Did you know a lot about the film business?" I said, "Yeah, because I'm passionate." And we were talking about Devdas that time, that just released in 2002, just 6 months prior. We were talking about the business of it, and I was pretty much giving them the analysis of each territory, from North America to UK to Australia to New Zealand to India to Punjab to Bombay. And they're like, "How do you know all this?" I go, "It's like, you just understand the business and the shares and the marketability, satellite rights, music rights." And they're like, "You know quite a bit, and creatively you seem like, would you want to work with us?" I said, "Sure." So I decided to join and work, and I never looked back. And the first film I happened to work on was Black with Sanjay Leela Bhansali as a co-production. between our company and Applause and Sanjay Leela Bhansali. So we made Black with them, and I was an EP on that film. And from that moment onwards, I kept growing with my career. Year on year, I spent about 3 years in Mumbai and Applause, then 3.5, 4 years with Viacom 18 that time, which was started as Studio 18. And my journey went from there, company to company, and I worked in the corporate side till about 2016 end. And thereafter decided to go independent because I made a multiple relationships with directors and actors and writers. And I said to myself, if I don't break out now to become a producer for myself, then I'll always be doing a corporate job, which I had to take a decision at that moment. So I took that decision. That was my journey, and Pawan had his journey along the way, which he'll just share, and how we merged together just the last few years.
When we started, the internet started, we were passionate about films. And that was one of our tools for understanding the business, because I think the box office figures, territory-wise or center-wise, were reported on the website. So we would literally take those figures every Friday. I think I used to come Friday morning for the previous week. What was the films? Put them down in our Excel sheet, and we'd be tracking films like that. And plus, then we'd be getting film collection of film information from Complete Cinema, Super Cinema, wherever we can get. And we literally were passionately tracking because of the digital age. So in a way, your website was one of the tools that got us the knowledge of the industry. And today we're sitting with you chatting, and we're like, what, it's about 18 years, 19 years, 19 years later, and we're talking to you with the same platform or the website that you've been working with. So that's been instrumental in our lives.
You came into
and I came to India about 2004. Aman was already working with Applause. He had sold Black to Yash Raj Films for overseas distribution. I had finished my film school at Vancouver Film School. And when I came to India, then I got involved with Yash Raj as a first AD. I was an AD on Neil and Nikki, and I was with them from 2005 to about 2009. And in 2010 onwards, I branched out on my own. I directed a film in 2011. And then since 2012, I've been predominantly producing. And I've been in the Punjabi side. I've done like 5 Punjabi films, Chada, Pwara, Super Singh, and Aman's been on the corporate side. He's been working from one studio to another studio. And I set up my company. And then after Aman was with Balaji at CEO, where he did Kurta Punjab and all these other films, he stepped out and we formed our company, and now we're producing for ourselves together.
That's amazing.